Hey there folks, Ben Farrell for Benn Farrell Freelance. This is the third installment of our three-part series on the different styles of endings. Hey there, Ben Farrell for Benn Farrell Freelance. This is the third installment of the three-part series that we are doing to break down the different styles of the most popular ways to end what you're writing. So over the course of this series, we've been talking about why it's important to plan your ending and the different styles you can use. With this installment, I just want to talk about a couple of things before we get into our final three styles. The first thing I want to say is all these endings that we're breaking down for you, they are just the most popular types of endings. But you got to remember, a lot of these types of styles, they tend to integrate, they tend to overlap each other. Your twisted reveal ending can also be an unresolved ending. Your ambiguous ending can also be a happy ever after ending. Obviously, your unexpected ending could also be a cliffhanger. So all of these endings can cross over anytime you want them to or need them to. Last thing I'm going to say is in this series, we're going over the 9 most popular ending styles, but endings are a lot like vowels. You have A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, and that's a big sometimes. So keep on the lookout for the bonus content that I post from this episode, because in that bonus content, I'm going to explain what that Y factor is as far as your endings. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our last 3 most popular ending styles. The first ending style of this episode that we're going to break down for you is the epilogue, or the expanded ending, and I believe the French actually call it the denouement. This is an ending style that comes after the climax, where even though your climax may actually resolve everything, it talks about the lasting effects of your story past that. So that's why it's called an expanded ending, because usually an epilogue or an expanded ending is helping you avoid an ambiguous ending. Good example of that is Margaret Atwood's A Handmaid's Tale, because we don't know 100% if Offred is being taken away, yes or no, by an undercover resistant member. However, there's an epilogue that helps us decide that. Now keep in mind, an epilogue or an expanded ending can work against you and unsatisfy your readers. I'm going to use the example of the movie, not the book, of Mystic River. The reason I use this as an example how the epilogue or the expanded ending could be too much for the story is filmmaker Clint Eastwood, who directed the film, he put in 20 minutes of epilogue material after the climax. And the climax itself was, albeit not happy, but it was a happy ever after ending, so everything was resolved. When I went to see that in the theater, I sat there completely satisfied after that climax, but there was 20 minutes of other stuff that, yes, it was helpful to know the characters a little bit better after the climax, but it wasn't needed. I was already satisfied. I sat there like, dude, come on, just roll the fucking credits. Now, these next 2 ending styles are very close together, but they have very specific parameters to define them. The next ending style we're talking about is the legacy ending. And this is very specific in a way that the main character does not reach his own objectives. However, he makes an influence on the people around him, the world around him, so that way they may better their situations or actually reach their own objectives. Now, the legacy ending is very close to the final ending style that we're going to talk about in this episode. However, I think the best examples of a legacy ending is probably the book and the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. In that, Randall McMurphy definitely does not meet his main objective. He's lobotomized by the hospital, and when he returns to the Commons, then Big Chief realizes what his future is, decides to euthanize him, and then Big Chief decides to throw the big sink through the window and make a break for it. That is a legacy ending. You have a main character who didn't reach their goal, but he affected others around him. Another good example of that is Dead Poets Society. You have a teacher who is blamed for the suicide of one of his students, and when he goes to collect his things after he's been fired, the students stand up on their desk just to say, hey, you had an effect on us, even though it didn't work out for you for that whole "Oh Captain, my captaincy." The last ending style that we're going to break down for you in this series is the martyr ending. And again, don't confuse it with the legacy ending, because they sound similar, but there's one trait that separates them. The difference between a martyr ending and a legacy ending is that, yes, the main character does not reach their objective, but in a martyr ending, it's their choice to not reach their objective to help better the situation of the people in the world around them. In the legacy ending, the main character doesn't have a choice about their situation. In the martyr ending, they do. So for this, here is our example of a martyr ending.
How are we gonna get rid of these aliens?
They won't stop until they find a 9-year-old boy named Foster.
Where are we gonna get one of those though?
Then they're just gonna have to take me and I'm gonna save the world.
You can't do that.
Well, I'm gonna go save the world. Peace.
Take me, bruh! Matt, I wonder what's on television.
So the key component for a martyr ending is sacrifice. The main character is sacrificing themselves, sacrificing their objective for the betterment of the people and the world around them. Now, regardless of your religion, the best example I can come up with this as a movie is The Passion of the Christ. Here's a man, whether you think he's the savior of the world or not, he was convinced he was, and he was willing to endure all this to save mankind. Another good example of this is the movie Saving Private Ryan. We have Tom Hanks' character. He spent the whole movie trying to find and save Private Ryan, bring him back home, and he ends up dying for it. And again, here we have a martyr ending that's also coupled with an epilogue ending. So that'll wrap up our 3-part series about the most popular ending styles. Just remember, they do integrate. Find which ones work for you. Find a way to weave them together. Maybe not just 2, maybe even 3, or come up with your own. Be sure to watch next Wednesday's post because that will actually talk about that why factor. This is Ben Farrell for Benn Farrell Freelance. Thanks for hanging out with us these last 3 weeks.
It's been 2 months, guys. It's time for a new contest. Come on.
Yeah, so we gotta have 3-sentence stories sent our way once again for the next 2 months. Tell us your 3-sentence stories to go with this photo.
I know, guys, that was a pretty crazy photo.
So get those 3-sentence stories in. If your name is pulled out of our drawing, then you'll win a free copy of one of my stage plays.
And this stage play that we are doing is Morning News.
Morning News. It's a play about small town news, and you can learn more about it by going to benfarrellwriter.com.
So stay safe and keep watching our video. Bye.